Okay, Nick Dutch here yet again. Still going through the website debunkingskeptics.com/page2.htm. Alright, this is the next part, so if you haven't seen the video that's gone before this, then do so. Then see this one, will make more sense that way, okay? Anyway, here we go. Now, the next point is the argument favors conservatism. We're talking about the argument of, how do they put it? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The argument favors conservatism of retaining the established theory in spite of contrary evidence. In spite of contrary evidence. This has its pros and cons. Obviously, it makes sense to retain what works until something better comes along. However, when it comes to modifying our paradigms or worldview, we also tend to resist change, even when the data calls for it. This argument, I fear, is used as an excuse for those who resist change. But if we ever abandoned theories or expanded them, then science would not make progress. History has shown that progress comes with new discoveries and abandoning old, outdated theories that no longer fit the new data required. This skeptical rule does not apply a sufficient condition for sufficient evidence. Therefore, rules should be established to clarify whether a competing theory is promising enough to warrant further research, so that when those rules are satisfied, excuses can't be used to try and dismiss the evidence offhand. Otherwise, as Ron Pearson says in his article, Theoretical Physics Back Survival. Science, however, cannot progress by theory alone. It requires a synthesis of theory and experiment, where an observation runs ahead of theory to provide anomalies which seem inexplicable. Then, as history has shown by repeating itself over and over, the anomalies are avoided, ignored, or discredited in order to maintain the status quo, to avoid the need to injure existing intellectual vested interests. So basically that's talking about censorship to maintain the status quo. As my friend and colleague Michael Godspeed pointed out in one of his articles, science has not historically gone by this rule. Even hopelessly flawed arguments posted by the pseudo-skeptic can have the power to flummox his opponents. In heated debates, he need not speak truth to emerge victorious. Games of semantics, creative ad hominem, and a deliberate misstatement of his opponent's positions are quite effective and oft-used tactics in his intellectual battles. The potential violence of King's English is brought to its greatest fruition by the pseudo-skeptic. With his back against the ropes, he will dazzle his opponents with a well-placed quote from Carl Sagan. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Send him reeling with the words, "You can't prove a negative," then slash his throat with Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is also the most likely. These ordinary-sounding scientific platitudes are used as the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free cards for pseudo-skeptics who have no answers to inconvenient questions. Let's examine Sagan's assertion that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The problem with this statement is that popular science does not require extraordinary evidence for its extraordinary claims. Big Bang Theory may be the most extraordinary claim in the history of popular science. Here we have an idea that can be neatly encapsulated in 8 words. At first there was nothing, then it exploded. But how can nothing explode? Big Bang Theory defies gravity and violates innumerable laws of physics. It remains hypothetical, mathematical model, yet it is pronounced as truth by NASA and institutions of higher learning around the world. Why has the mainstream never demanded the same standards of Big Bang theorists as it does of paranormal proponents? Okay, I think there's, I personally, Nick Dutch here, thinks there's some errors with the analysis as expressed there. But never mind, let's carry on with reading through the essay. Where are the double-blind tests of validating Big Bang Theory? Has Big Bang Theory been tested by JRF or other skeptical organizations? What about Einstein's theory of relativity? The general public seems unaware that it has always been and is still a matter of contention among accredited scientists. As Marcus Coleman writes, Einstein's relativity was not accepted by a number of his contemporaries. Rutherford rightly thought of it as father of nuclear physics, considered it to be nonsense. Columbia University astronomer C.L. Poor in 1922, 26, and 30 gave unassailable refutations of the claims of Eddington, i.e. that observations of the 1919 South American solar eclipse confirmed Einstein's predicted gravitational attraction of light. Poor also documents a similar situation existing in 1922 West Australian eclipse and the claims of Campbell and Trumpler. It was proof espoused by Eddington, however, which brought Einstein his first acclaim and greatest fame. Poor showed clearly that the actual observations were not what is claimed, and that they did not support Einstein's prediction. This is still a valid refutation of Einstein's presumed gravitational attraction of light, and notwithstanding the gravitational lensing phenomena still remains standing as an unanswered challenge to Einstein's general theory of relativity and theory of gravitation. As a side issue, this relegates the concept of black holes to pure science fiction, as many non-conventional scientists contend. That is, despite evidence of the most recent discoveries being claimed as proof of their existence, even to including the latest data concerning the center of the Milky Way. Such proof does not survive close scrutiny. Again, I'm not totally sure about that statement, but we can see some of where his points are coming from here. My point here is not to argue one side or another in debates over scientific cosmological questions, but rather to demonstrate that these most sacred truths of popular science are in reality extraordinary claims which have never required extraordinary evidence. A more accurate phrase to describe standards of pseudo-skeptics, and I'm sorry to say much of the mainstream, is unpopular claims require extraordinary evidence. In its time, Galileo's thesis was considered quite extraordinary, as was Newton's. Why should this have been held against them? What is wrong with judging the evidence of a claim on its merit, while ignoring all preconceived notions of what is possible and impossible? Okay. I'm going to stop the video again, start another one going. I will cover more stuff again from this same amazing webpage on debunkingskeptics.com. Speak to you soon.